I think they got to be younger, and if we'd have to see with Machado, if he leaves, well, you know you're going to get a couple of 2 or 3 good players and young guys maybe, but they're working on that. That's the first thing I told John Angelos is, John, I don't want to be involved in any baseball operations. You know, I'm strictly here to help the Orioles as far as being a public relation guy and trying to get people to come to this ballpark and see what a wonderful event it is.
Now, you talked about Manny Machado. How about, Manny's been compared to you and vice versa. I mean, what are your thoughts on what you've seen from Manny Machado in his tenure with the Orioles? Well,
he's a terrific player. I mean, he's got all the attributes that you need for a player. He can hit, he can throw, he's got a great arm, great fielder. And I've got to know Manny probably better than anyone on this team. Of course, I know I've met Buck a few times, but Manny and I presented him with the Gold Glove in New York, and so we talk every now and then. And he's just, I tell you, for the things that are going on now, I think he's played extremely well.
I was kind of really impressed with when he wished you the happy birthday the night after he was being interviewed there.
Yeah.
You know, took the time to make sure, how much he respects you.
Well, I was down here, I don't remember when it was, at the Brooks Robinson All-Star game, and when he was out on the field, I was yelled at him, and he came back, and I gave him a big hug, and I want to tell you, he's hard as a rock. So.
Now, what about when you look at the Orioles right now, of the current players, what Oriole player would remind you of the so-called Oriole way now of the players that they currently have?
Well, they've got a mishmash of players out there right now. A lot of them playing out of position, but that's just the way it is right now. But they've got players coming up through the minor leagues, and they're going to have to come and play. It's just that it means a lot to have a young infiltration of players, and that's the way that if you can keep 1 or 2 guys coming every year, you'll turn this whole situation around.
And obviously, lots of teams have to bottom out to get better. It's almost like a cycle now at this period, I think, for teams, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you take a look at teams like Milwaukee and several other teams that just had an influx of young guys, and they can play.
Brooks, let's go back to when you first started playing for the Orioles and all. What was it like, the atmosphere, say, compared to today's game? I mean, there wasn't obviously as many statistics as there are right now.
Well, what was the difference, you mean?
Yeah, the biggest difference.
Well, I think that they seem to be having a lot more fun here, even though they're not, and there's not a whole lot of difference, Tom. I mean, I feel like baseball has really passed me by. And that's why I told John Angelos, well, don't get me involved in any organizational decisions. But I mean, you can't break up a double play at second base. The catcher he can't block the plate. And I think they're going to do away with the way the teams shift around for players. I think they're going to do away with that. That's just my opinion before it's long. But, these players, they all have the same idea when I came up. It was just you have to pay your dues, and then you get here, and hopefully you can perform.
You were signed as a second baseman.
That's right.
Why did you get the third? I mean, how did that happen?
Well, I guess second base, it's more of a reflex position at third base. And I've always had the great reflexes. It's a God-given talent. And it's almost, even when I was playing basketball in high school, it was just, I was always where the ball was. And, there's a lot of things it helps you at third base, knowing what pitch is coming, knowing who's pitching, and you don't move around a whole lot over there. But second base, I played 50 games at York, and then they moved me to third base. And that's really, I couldn't have lasted a long time playing second. My speed is not the best, as you know. Boog Powell, he's always ragging me about having more stolen bases than me. But anyway, but that's the best thing that happened to me. And I guess George Stoller, my manager at York, and Paul Richards talked and said, you're going to be a third baseman.